Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Wiley and I'm excited to be here today to share a little bit about my culture. I'm just going to share my screen to get started. Okay, so a little bit about my culture. So I was born and raised in Leesburg, Virginia. This is a suburban neighborhood outside of Washington, D.C., about 30 minutes. My mom actually works in D.C. She commutes there every day. So it's not too far. It's a cute town. There's a historic downtown, and it's actually expanded a lot over the past 2 decades, I guess, like my life. My high school had around 2,000 kids in it, and they've been building a lot recently. There are a lot of government workers that live in my county and neighborhood just because it is so close to DC. So we also have a lot of military too. So it's a pretty nice area. The education system is good, and I love living in Northern Virginia. It's very close to Maryland, the beach, and DC is always fun. Every field trip in elementary school, we went to different museums, and they were always very educational, and we learned so much. So that has definitely shaped my culture. And then I also like the aspect that there are like four distinct, clear, even seasons. So it's like winter for 3 months, summer for 3 months, spring for 3 months, fall for 3 months, rather than it just being like cold and then hot for 2 months or hot and then cold for 2 months. I like having the very spread out. Each season has its own place. And then another cool thing about where I grew up is I grew up living on a farm. It's I guess not a huge farm. It's only 22 acres, but it's over here at the bottom right picture. That's outside my front yard. You can see the driveway going up. But I grew up there and I loved spending every day outside all day, just playing outside until it was dark out and I had to come in and eat dinner. We used to have some farm animals. We had like 3 horses, a couple pigs, 2 cows, and a donkey, and a bunch of chicken. But now we only have 1 horse and a bunch of cats and 4 dogs now. And I love the dogs, don't get me wrong, but I do miss the horses. But it's a beautiful, I love being outside. Just when I used to come home from school every day, I'd just sit outside for like 30 minutes and just relax. It's always a pretty view. The sunset's right over the water. So that's where I'm from, but a little bit about my family. My mother and father are named Stephanie and Lonnie. Lonnie's in that first picture on the top left in the back, with my 3 older brothers. The 2 brothers on the right, are my half brothers. We don't have the same mom, but they're still my brothers. I love them so much. But my dad had them when he was 16 and 18, and then he had my other brother, the one wearing the hoodie with the blue lettering, and when he was 34 and me when he was 36. So we have a large age gap, which was interesting growing up, because I'd be like 5 and my brother would be like 27. But it's cool. I love them. They're awesome. And then my mom's in this middle picture on the top. She's wearing sunglasses holding my flowers. That was my graduation day at high school. She is awesome. Her family, like my grandparents and my aunt, I'm very close to. They all live in Leesburg now, and I grew up with them, so it really does take a village. But yes, that's my grandma, aunt, and mother in that picture. And then my grandfather over there on the right dancing with me as a child. And that is my great grandma and aunt and mom on the very left bottom. And then me and my brother in the middle. And then another graduation pic with my aunt and uncle. But yeah, that's my family. I'll go a little bit more in depth about their history and stuff. So my father and his side of the family, it's very interesting because my father moved around a ton as a kid. He was born in Minnesota, and he lived there until he was around 3. But his dad got remarried 4 times over the course of his childhood. So he lived on the East Coast, West Coast. He lived in California, Nevada. Um, Virginia is his home base. He moved here when he was like a teenager and hasn't really left. But as a kid, he moved around a lot. Unfortunately, his mother passed away at age 7, so I never got to meet her, and he remembers her, but he doesn't remember her that much because he was such a young age, and that's unfortunate. But we have learned a lot about our culture too. Um, so yeah, my dad was born in Minnesota, and then in that picture, that's my grandfather and my dad when he was a baby, and then my grandfather on the very right. Um, In that black and white picture, he looks very handsome. And then that is my 2 oldest brothers on the bottom left, JT and Keith. They were born in West Virginia. My dad lived in West Virginia for a couple years with his previous wife, when he was in high school. He had a kid at 16 and 18. Keith was his first kid. And then there's me and Hunter, like 20 years later. But I love my brother. All my brothers are amazing. And then that's just us at a family reunion, and then it's crazy because now my brothers are having children, so I'm an aunt. So I love being able to see my nephew, Benjamin. He's super sweet. Okay, and then for my mom, it's really interesting because my mom grew up in Pennsylvania with my aunt and my grandfather and grandmother, obviously, but my grandma is was born and raised in Ireland. So she was born in Galway and she lived there until she was 12, and then she moved to Pennsylvania where my grandfather lived, and they met. Not when they were 12, but they met like 10 years later or something at work. But they lived in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, but my grandmother has a very strong Irish accent, and that's where I get my red hair from. If you see on the very right left, that's me and my grandmother together. We have matching four-leaf clover tattoos as well. And my grandma is someone I look up to a lot because she has shaped my culture the most, I would say. We've gone to visit Ireland every 2 years for the past decade, and we always practice Irish traditions at home, and I just love my grandma, and it's very exciting to learn from her and see how she's changed as she moved here. And then another thing that has impacted my culture other than my family is all the places that I've traveled. I love traveling. It's like the best learning experience, but it's also so much fun. I love it, and it's beautiful. There's really no bad things about it, except it's expensive. But a few of my favorite travels is I went to Greece, I went to Athens and Santorini, and that was just breathtaking. I loved the food there, that was definitely good. And then I also went to Canada, there's me at the Canadian border. I like Canada. I wasn't there for that long, but I liked it. It seemed very, like, clean and, like, fresh, like, the grass was very green. And then that is me in France. A cool story about France is that my freshman year of high school when I was 15, I went and stayed with a French host family for 2 weeks in Aix-en-Provence, France, which is in the southern France, um, with my host sister, Alexia Duberg. She is amazing. I still talk to her to this day, but it was amazing because I got to go to French school for a week, like Monday through Friday, and just experience their way of life. It is so different. It's crazy because she would go to school at, like, 16, and they would all, like, smoke cigarettes before, like, with the teachers, and they had, like, an hour and a half lunch. They would leave the school and go out and get lunch, then come back for school, and it's just crazy to compare the different cultures and be like, "Oh, she's my age, and this is how she lives with her family in France," and even going home with her family at night and having wine at dinner when my parents, like, would never let me do that until I was 21. It's just, very eye-opening and a great learning experience. I've also traveled to Jamaica. That is me and my friend Hannah at Jamaica. It's a beautiful, beautiful weather there. I love it. And then there's me in Ireland. I've been there quite a few times because of my grandmother. As I said, she was born in Ireland and lived there for 10 the first 12 years of her life. Um, so I always love going there. It's so green there. It's just, like, lush. Everything's so fresh. And then Amsterdam is another place I love. I traveled there in 2018, and I just loved the atmosphere of everyone. Everyone was very welcoming and talked to me, like, people would just stop on the street and talk to me. So all of my different travels have also affected my culture. So when it comes to my values, for social orientation, I would say I fall more on the collectivist side of the spectrum just because I have always dealt with huge groups of people in my life. This first picture up here on the top left, that is my family reunion. As you can see, my family is very large. I'm over there with the doggy sitting down. So my family is very large. I grew up with three older brothers, and I always had to kinda just go with whatever because I was the youngest, the only girl, So I've just learned to go with the flow and be flexible and just be like, yeah, whatever you guys want to do, it's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I will. If I really want to do something, I'll say it, but I'm pretty easygoing with that and just I want everyone else to be happy and I'll be happy. Another example to show this is lacrosse. I feel like if you play any team sport, you kind of have to have that collectivist mindset because you can't just think about how am I going to play good. You have to think about every player and how you all are going to help each other. So that teamwork and collaboration really helps. And then I also really like being community oriented and giving back to my community, which I feel like is kind of a collectivism trait. On the right, that's me volunteering at JK Community Farm in Virginia. We harvested like 500 pounds of cabbage that day in the hot July sun, but it was a lot of fun, and we got to eat those fresh salads, and it was great. But yes, you definitely have to work together to do any type of charity work, sports, or just being in a family. You have to think of others before yourself, and I tend to do that more. And then for uncertainty orientation, I would say I'm definitely uncertainty avoidance, unfortunately. I haven't dealt with much change in my life before coming to college, so I was definitely like far on that side of the spectrum before college, and it's moved slightly towards the middle. But I lived in the same house for the first 18 years of my life until I moved here. I went to the same schools with the same people. So I went to Leesburg Elementary School, which fed into Smartsmill Middle School, which fed into Tuscarora High School. And it wasn't until I decided to move out of state from Virginia to South Carolina that I really started feeling, like, anxious with this change, and I'm not used to it, and, sharing a room with someone, that was something I was never used to. Um, it has definitely made me better with change, but I would still say I'm a little iffy with it, and it makes me uncomfortable, but I'm working on it. And then for basic human nature, this one is tricky because I believe that humans can do good and humans can do evil. Like, I feel like everyone has a power to do evil things and to do good things, but I did grow up religious, um, so I do believe in good and evil. I'd like to believe most people are good. Um, I attend Cornerstone Church, and then I also which is up there on the left, and I really like it because it's a non-denominational church, so even if you're not that religious, just hearing, like, the teachings, you can relate to anything in life, kind of. Um, so you don't have to be super I didn't grow up that religious, I've just started going recently in the past couple years, and it was intimidating for me, so it has definitely helped a lot and is shaping my culture, like, presently. But I'd like to believe most humans are good, but good people can do evil things and evil people can do good things, in my opinion. So it's all just about your actions and your intentions, and if you have pure good intentions or if you have evil intentions. Um, yeah. And then I also put in a quote. I said, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and power and glory forever. Amen. Matthew 3:16. And then I also included the yin and yang sign because I thought kind of correlated like the bad and the good. Like I feel like everyone has good and bad in them. We just have to make the choice to constantly do good and be good. And then for activity orientation, I'm definitely right in the middle because I do value getting those status, grades, awards, but I also just love chilling out. So I've included a report card from when I was in high school, straight A's. And then I also put me getting a DECA trophy, and then me working, helping my dad work on his camper, and when I got into Nationals Honor Society. And then I also put in a picture of my office for my internship this summer at Northwest Federal Credit Union. I was a human resource intern. And I think that top row of pictures show me doing. Like I'm being very productive, getting my stuff done, but then any other day, I'm the bottom row being. I like to play with my doggies. I like to be outside doing face masks, reading and hanging out with my friends. I think it's important to have a great like work-life balance and be productive, but also give yourself time. Every Sunday, I dedicate just to myself and doing what I want. And I just make sure that I get all my work done before Sunday to enjoy that. And then for space orientation, I'm definitely more private since I grew up with 3 older brothers. Um, I've always had my own room. My parents let me lock the door. They never, like, barge in. If they do, they'll knock, be like, "Hi, can I come in?" They don't know my phone password, never have, and I've had a phone since 5th grade. And then all my social medias are private too, just because I don't like people stalking me. And then I also am private because I always call the downstairs TV, like, to myself because I don't wanna watch with it, like, I just wanna lay at the couch and watch TV. So I'm definitely more private. Um, yeah, I don't wanna share a room ever again, honestly. And then, do you believe it's acceptable to show your emotions in public or at work? Everyone has emotions, so I don't feel that we necessarily need to hide them. I just think we need to learn how to manage them. So just being emotionally intelligent, I've definitely been emotionally intelligent, learning from my dad and my mom and stuff. Because my mom is an accountant and she definitely gets frustrated sometimes, like in meetings that she takes from home. And just the way she handles it, she never sounds mad when she's talking on the phone. So I just think just finding an outlet to relieve your emotions at work, maybe journaling for 5 minutes or going on a break and going to the gym or taking a walk. But you're going to feel emotions at work. I don't think you necessarily need to hide it. You can show them, just don't be dramatic and be professional about it. And then I also included this quote: emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and relationships. And then another value is, do you maintain a separation between your personal and professional lives? I do when it comes to management, but when it comes to coworkers, I always find myself being friends with them. But I make a distinct boundary. On the very left picture, that's my boutique, Francesca's. It's a retail store. And that's just me and my coworkers. They're great. I love them. I hang out with them outside of work too. But it's hard um, when you're trying to get close to your manager, because I like my manager a lot as a person, but just because there is that power relationship, I, like, respect her so much, and I don't want to disappoint her, and she requested to follow me on Instagram, and I just didn't wanna do it. I didn't wanna allow it because I just didn't I don't think she would, like, dislike anything I have, or there's nothing inappropriate or derogatory. It was just having that boundary of, "This is my social media page. I don't know if I want my manager to be seeing every single thing I post." Um, so I'd say, yeah, it's definitely more specific, but I'm also friends with some coworkers and hang out with them, like, casually all the time. So it really just depends on if you're just a coworker or manager for me. Then, do you believe in gaining status in our societies through achievements or through factors such as our family name, age, or gender? Definitely achievements. This has been prevalent in my life. My grandmother, like I said, she was born in Ireland. When she first came to the US, her family was very, very, very poor. She had to ask her neighbors for, like, bread and butter for dinner and stuff. So she worked hard and she got her PhD, and now she works at the CIA, which is amazing, and she's retired. And she's been retired for, like, the past 5 years. And I look up to her so much because she was an immigrant, and then she was very poor here, and then she went to school, and now she has an amazing job. She's just amazing. Um, and then I also just put a few of my achievements at the top as well. And then, do you live and plan your days or live by the clock, or do you live more naturally? It's a mixture. Definitely, I put in my work schedule for this week so I wouldn't forget. But when I have a due date or a work schedule, I definitely plan my day around that and I get all the work I need to do. But if I don't have work or a class that day, I'm not setting an alarm and I'll just do my work when I wake up or when I feel like it during that day. So it's a little bit in the middle, but I'd say it's more natural of when I'm feeling it. And then my communication style, I'm definitely more indirect. I have a hard time speaking up. I'm very non-confrontational and passive. I included these pictures because everyone says they can read my emotions by my face. So I'm very annoyed in that first one, it was windy. And then that one, I don't even know. This one, I'm happy, I was with my lizard. And in that one, I'm like laughing so hard at that dolphin. But I'm very good at picking up other people's body language, and if I do have to talk about something that is important, I'll probably send an email or text first before I, like, go to someone's office or call just because I am a little bit more social anxiety, but I'm trying to work on that. That is all. Thank you guys for taking the time to hear about my culture and values. This was a really fun assignment, and I learned a lot about myself and reflecting.